This is a series of monologues to complement M. Scott Miller's exhibit, which is upstairs and over that, or just over that way, right?
Right, it's in the center gallery upstairs.
And we'll have 7 monologues here, and there's also 7 monologues upstairs, and they'll be done twice, one at 6 o'clock and one at 8 o'clock. So if you want to see the other ones, go at 8 o'clock, you can go upstairs and see the other 8. We're thrilled and delighted to have this collaboration, and we're looking forward to many, many more opportunities to work with downtown and the museum specifically.
And I'm just so proud of this whole collaboration. It just feels like creativity is pouring out in Missoula. And Missoula should just feel so proud of itself. And thank you so much for pitching in and making this happen.
Okay, thank you. The first monologue is Rosie Ayers is going to be reading about a monologue by Jay Kettering. So without any further ado, Rosie, take it away.
Excuse me just for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Yep, just your attention for just a moment. Hello. I'm Polly Muse. Some of you may recognize me. I've been around Missoula a long, long time. I certainly recognize some of you. Greg called on me tonight to say a few words. I'm not big on public speaking, but I felt it was a special occasion, and that Greg, ooh, what a charmer, huh? There's a little crack in the floor here that would be perfect for a sunflower seed. Yes, and a 9 or 10 foot tall Russian mammoth sunflower. It'd be lovely right there, don't you think? Oh, what was I saying? Oh, yes. Oh, but as I was saying, Greg brought me here tonight, as I sometimes work for the museum, not in any official capacity. Like most Missoulians, I have more than one job, and I could be found just about all over doing what I can. Excuse me, sir. You look like you could use a kiss. Oh, that reminds me of the last time. Oh, when I gave Dick Hugo his last good kiss. Oh. We were drunk that night. Much drunker than you are. Oh, wow. Where was I? Oh, I almost forgot. Would anybody like a grape? They are sweet as honey and plump as a newborn's testicle. I grew them myself, just over there on the corner of Broadway and Higgins. You look skeptical. This is the Garden City. The streets are incredibly fertile. Why, you don't even need sunshine or soil, water. A little whiskey does help. That's for certain. I'm telling you, I've watched a seed germinate, sprout, and grow to maturity in the time it takes the lights to go from yellow to red, back to green again. Why? Just look at this cucumber, for example. Fine specimen, wouldn't you say? Well, there was a time when I grew a whole row of these, the entire length of a city block on Ryman Street, from spruce to pine. And it was January. I remember it well because I recruited Dorothy Johnson to help me harvest that night. Oh, boy, do I remember that well. That was the night that Dorothy Johnson got the idea for A Man Called Horse. Isn't it strange and mysterious, the place where inspiration comes from? Call me easily amused, but I'm constantly amazed at the kinds of fruits and vegetables and flowers I find growing in this town. and in every nook and cranny you can imagine. One night I was walking down Front Street, and right there, out of the asphalt, burst a tree sapling. Right in front of me. In a matter of seconds, it was as tall as the Wilma building, and I thought to myself, well, heck, I'd like a bird's eye view of the city lights. So I climbed right up its trunk, and when I got near the top, sitting on a branch was Rudy Audio. And he had his flashlight, and he was holding it on a sack of potatoes that he said he dug up behind Charlie B's. And I remember him saying that one of the potatoes looked like Richard Nixon. And I picked up the sack and said, well, Rudy, look at this one. It looks like horses and naked ladies all in a tornado. I'm telling you, this asphalt farming can inspire weird and wonderful thoughts. Why, just gaze upon this ripe and beautiful carrot. It's supposed to be a tomato. Guess we ran out of those, huh? And talk about inspiring. Oh, tomatoes are full of passion. It sure bore fruit for my old friend Jim Crumley. I was sitting in the Oxford one night, waiting on my brains and eggs, when in came Jim. And the first thing I noticed, he's got a gash on his head, bleeding. He said he'd either gotten in a fight or fallen down and hit on his head on a curb. He couldn't remember. Well, I didn't see him. I didn't want to just see him sit there and bleed to death, so I did what anyone like me would do, and I stuck a couple of tomato seeds into his wound. And in the blink of an eye, the bleeding stopped. And out grew a vine. And a plump tomato. Well, he was hungry and he didn't want to wait for his hash browns. So he plucked off that tomato, squeezed it right in his beer. While he drank his red beer, I suggested he think like a detective to figure out what happened to his head. Jim seemed a little annoyed at my suggestion and offered that maybe he should just shoot me. He said things like that. He was really just a good big pussycat at heart. Oh, but before I forget, I have seeds for all of you. Now these are special seeds. Strictly for the street farmer. You want some too? That's right. I suggest that on your way home tonight you look for a crack in the sidewalk. Or maybe a pothole. No? Try planting a few of those. See what happens. Sure is a nice night for, I don't know. I think I'll find someone's dream. Go watch the show. Then again, I'm so easily sidetracked. What I think Greg was hoping that I would say is simply this. Sometimes you human beings are really human beings. And every being needs a gardener. So call me. Thank you and good night.
Hi, my name is Callum Barry, and I will be performing Cat Date by Sean Kirkpatrick. Sean, a young man, is walking home at night. He comes across a cat sitting in the sidewalk. Another cat. What are you doing, little guy? Girl? You're a girl cat. What are you doing, little girl? Are you on a date with him? You picked a lovely mate. His fur is very soft. I was just petting him a moment ago. What's your name, kitty? It doesn't say on your tag. I bet your name's something very elegant. Like Susan, no. Or Edith. Is that your name? Edith? And his is something regal like Bickford. Yeah. Bickford and Edith. Well, what are you doing out so late, lady? Oh, you have a date. How precious. What's that? Why, yes. I will sit and chat for a while. I bet you two go down to that park down the street and watch the stars. Huh. What do cats dream about? Do you dream of fish treats? Having your ears scratched like this? I like your purr. Maybe you dream of traveling the state. No, the country with Bickford. Yeah. Heading the back of pickup trucks and railway cars. Your owners would miss you an awful lot, I'm sure. You know, I had a cat once. Actually, I had two. One was an orange tabby like your Bickford. Except his name wasn't Bickford, it was Boone. Oh, Boone. He just wandered up on our porch one summer and just never left. We fed him roast beef and chicken. Do you like roast beef and chicken? When my parents moved, we had to get rid of him. Don't worry, he has a new home. Sometimes I like to think Boone misses me and my family. I'm sure his new one's nice, but they probably don't feed him roast beef and chicken. Oh, my other cat. His name was Oliver. He was gray and black and had white socks and a white little tip at the end of his tail. Kind of like how you have a black tip at the end of yours. He passed a few months ago. You would have liked Oliver, I think. He was small and fast. I rescued him from the pound when he was just a little kitten. He used to like snuggling with me in bed. Do you snuggle with your human in bed? You look like the kind of cat that snuggles. That's okay. Here, you can curl up in my lap if you want to. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I keeping you from your date? No? You sure? Alright then. What else do you do with Bickford? I'm sure you get food somewhere. Maybe he comes over and eats from the little tin of Fancy Feast on your porch. Or maybe you sneak into his home through the cat door and drink water out of his bowl together. That sounds nice. How long have you two been together? A long time, I would think. You look like it. No, that wasn't an insult. I was just saying that you look like you're very much in love with him. It's sweet. How very wonderful for the both of you. Maybe one day I'll find a love of my own. Do cats mate for life? I mean, did you see other cats before Bickford? I like to think that you two have been together for a while. The other cats in the neighborhood would look up to your relationship as a model for their own. How wonderful. Marvelous, even. Oh, is it time for you to go? Alright, goodbye, Edith. It was lovely talking to you. Enjoy your date night. I hope you and Bickford have many little kittens together. Enjoy your late night date to the park. Hey, Edith? Don't forget me, okay? 'Cause I won't forget you. Even if you remember me as the strange human who was very curious about your love life, I won't forget you. I'll remember you as the cute little lady cat that let me pet her and delay her date. Oh. Good night, Edith. Good night, Bickford. Thank you.
I'm Lindy Kuhn, and I'm reading Floating, a monologue by Rita Nice Sparky, who is in the audience tonight. So, give a wave. I'm reading the part of Claire, a 60 to 70-year-old woman at St. Patrick's Hospital in ICU, nighttime. It's about this fairy. It's heading towards God. Yes, it is. But if word gets out, the other passengers will jump ship. They aren't ready to meet their maker, but I am. And here's the deal. If I stay on course, straight and steady, I'll get to heaven. That's right. It's all a test from God. Oh, look. He's over there. Look. Who knew that God lives on an iceberg and that he has fur? I sure didn't. Did you, sister? Orange juice. Thanks. I left my water bottle in the car. I didn't think I'd get thirsty on deck. Sometimes I think age can be measured in sips. How many sips of orange juice have I ever had? How many sips of coffee? How many sips of gin? Yes, siree, add it all up and bingo, you're old. There. All gone. Gone like the wind. That Billie Holiday. She could sing. My sister June, she had all of Billie's records. She knew every song by heart. Quick, think of someone who's perfect. The answer is June. Don't laugh. It's true. It was June who was chosen to see the Blessed Virgin, not me. June, while she was driving to Butte. That's when her whole car suddenly smelled of roses. She pulled over, and there, in front of her, was the Virgin, asking June to pray the rosary. And so she did. She knelt down on her bare knees and began the Apostles' Creed. No, how do you do, or are you real? Even when she noticed that the Virgin Mary had no feet, she just prayed. And now look at me. I have feet, but one's not connected. It's out there, floating. Oh, can you do that for me? A warm blanket would be marvelous. I am so cold. I should have stayed with my car, but then I wouldn't have met you, would I? And we've had such a nice chat. No! Oh. I keep seeing it, that nasty turn. At mile marker 3, it comes at me, and I try to brake, but I can't stop. I'm on black ice. I wake up and it's gone. I wake up and I'm here, in St. Pat's. I wake up and I wish I hadn't woken up. Some good news? Yeah, tell me some good news. When, tonight? No, you're mistaken. June couldn't have been here. She's a nun. Benedictine. She's been cloistered for, 40 years. I don't remember any of that. It's the meds. It must be my meds. They're making me loony. That's what they do. June finally comes to see me, and I'm out of my mind. Tell me she's coming back. She's coming back, right? But I haven't seen her in 40 years. 40 years. And not one word from her, not even a whisper. So what did she say? Did she leave me a message? She'd pray for me. What else could she say? She's Saint June. I should be happy that she came to see me at all. What's that smell? Cranberry juice, of course. No, that's fine. I love cranberry juice. I'd only hoped that it was... Well, for a moment I thought it was something sweeter. Maybe it's you. Please, don't fuss. I'm okay, just a bit fuddled. I'll buzz at you if I need something for the pain. There's one thing, though. I don't like how the light twinkles on the bed rails. It makes me feel like I'm floating. In my mind, I try to stand up. I try to drive away. But then I find I'm stuck. Floating. Thank you.
Hello, I am Rebecca Schaefer, and I will be performing Anita Vatshell's Front Street monologue. The setting is 1895, late evening in the Front Street saloon and brothel. French Emma is the temporary madam of Mary Gleam's empire during her imprisonment. It's different for some of our girls. French women are fortunate. But in some countries, they are sold at birth or flung into the river. Worth nothing. There are cultures where a girl's only purpose is to be a man's slave. Perhaps, in some ways, they are still slaves to men. Bien sûr. Not that in my country they don't throw women away. But I had a family. I was not sold as a child. I left out of my own desire to know more. But I left so young. It was a man that brought me halfway across the world. I came for love. I discovered it was only a fantasy. I was too young. As a girl, I dreamt of a life better than what I knew. But always it was a mistake. Such romance, such adventure, and too late I recognize. No matter where I ended up, it was the same. And there I was. Now I am here in the middle of nowhere. What else is there for me? I'm getting too old to keep up with the other dancers. With the true madam soon restored to her empire, I am useless. Loyalty is not fashionable in this world. Or safe. She will find a way to end my days either way. I no longer draw in the men. When Mary returns, I will have nothing. Our relationship is destroyed. Leaving Missoula before her release and starting over is my only option. It is only incidental that I leave with some of her money and her piano man. The act of leaving ensures that she will want me dead. Why not take this chance to make a life elsewhere? It's that simple. If I succeed, I may have a future. Perhaps you do not recall. Long ago, Mary was like an older sister to me. Our relationship became strained over the years. Only when she attacked me over Bobby was it clear how far we had drifted. Surprised? Yes. We were very close before. She would hand-pick the men who could be with me. French women are the most desirable, she always said. Exotic. She taught me to dance, to make my money in other ways, not always giving myself to men. My talents helped make this place a success. Men of all walks crowded our saloons and the underground dens. We entertained mayors, railroad men, tycoons, and the gentlemen of Helena. They came from all over for Mary Gleam's Frenchwoman. I felt like her partner. Mary considered the brothel a man's occasional home. She believes loneliness can be cured through a woman's tender touch. With all the pleasures to meet their needs, women, drink, and opium. That, along with their countless connections, brought them all to Front Street. Intimacy allows you to know a man quickly. Sometimes we do care. Admittedly, I cherish these moments. When they plead with me like a child for more after we dance, or when I hear their secrets in the dark after we make love. This is our only form of power over powerful men. If my plan works, all will be different. I sense nothing behind what is in front of me, no expectations other than what I've offered. A partner, a warm bed, a place of business. In this way, no one is disappointed. Yeah, chérie. To what has been and what is yet to come. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bridget Smith, and I will be actually doing a piece by Bridget Smith called The Big Dipper Employee Shelby Explains It All. It's a timing thing, really, is what I've learned over the years of being a scooping artist. You don't want to encourage them to take forever, but if you ask them to make a decision right in the middle of a tasting, a sample, then you get to watch melted cream and sugar and flavoring roll around in their open mouth as they try to order. Then is it rude to point out the trash receptacle located on the counter, to permit them from using that small spoon as a prop of some sort? Seriously, what is it about a small sample spoon that makes them merit, or it merits them using it as some kind of like a dog would use a chew toy? But there they are, standing at your window, cream rolling around in their open mouth. Then right when they're done ordering, cue the sound of the plastic spoon playing a little symphony on their teeth. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And it's probably due to all this distraction that I start sounding like a broken record. Cup or cone? What? What? Do you want that in a cup or in a cone? Oh, cup. No, cone. Sugar plain or waffle? What? Sugar plain or waffle? Regular. Regular? I clearly said sugar, plain, or waffle, and they say regular. So then I have to clarify. So, do you want the plain cone or the sugar cone? Really need you to pick one. Really need you to pick one. Is this the first time that anybody has ever ordered a flippin' ice cream cone? Oh, but my favorite is that after waiting in line for 20 or so minutes, they turn you into their deciding factor. Why would my favorite flavor of ice cream influence them in any way? Or do they just need an extra minute to look at the giant board of all of the flavors? Or maybe to make cutesy small talk? I mean, I may work in an ice cream shop, but I'm not the one eating your ice cream. But they ask. And then I have to tell them that my favorite flavor is in fact bubblegum. Yes, I know I am not a young child, but I just can't deny the little gummy surprises laced throughout the ice cream. Okay, it's delicious. But they ask, and they judge. Or, if they ask, then they might want to try it. And then I'll be forced to hand them a sample. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Janie Albans, and I will be performing 3rd Street by Sean Gant. And this takes place in an interrogation room in the police station. I was going home off shift, and I'm walking down the alley off 3rd Street near the bakery. I always take the alleys. It's how I see the real Missoula, especially at night. You can see someone left a light on behind them, and they're smoking on the back porch. The door lit up behind them, and someone moving there comes out to join them, looks at the stars or something. I remember once I saw this couple in down jackets. They were looking up in the sky. So when I got to the end of the alley, I looked up too, and I saw it. A lunar eclipse. God, how did I miss that announcement? You know, full lunar. Sure, they announced it. I mean, I was probably working. Yeah, I was working tonight too. KECI said there was a man out attacking people. Well, women. Grabbing their boobs on the Higgins Street Bridge. I mean, can you imagine? Someone just coming up and grabbing a boob. Then what? He hears that little bell go off in his pocket, which means he has a Facebook message, and he runs away and ducks down the 3rd Street alley with his face all lit up, and he is glued to it. She comes around the corner, out of breath, pissed off, and she gives him a mean chop to the heart, and his iPhone flies off like a glow-in-the-dark frisbee, and he makes a soft sound as he goes down, and I freeze. Hey! I yell, stop it! But she doesn't stop. She keeps kicking him in the face, and then she digs in the garbage can above him, and she pulls out this wine bottle. I mean, why don't people put their trash in plastic bags? Anyway, I mean, the garbage guys complain about it, and they heave that can up, and out comes all this litter, beer bottles that should be in those little plastic blue bags anyway, and meat wrappers that bring the dogs around, and broken picture frames and nails, all sorts of stuff. I mean, really dangerous stuff if you think about it. But normally just a mess and a pain in the ass for the garbage men who have to pick it up while the truck leaves behind them, barreling down the alley. Huh? So, So she gets this bottle that someone has dropped in the trash, and honest to God, she smashes it up against the window frame, and this guy is moaning and whining and absolutely writhing on the ground, and she takes the broken neck of the bottle and she wipes it across his nose, and he tries to shield his face with the back of his hands, and she takes it across the back of his hands. And I guess it freaks her out because then she makes another stab at him and it nicks him in the neck and then it sticks in his elbow. And this all takes about 20 seconds, I swear, and it's all so quick and I'm stock still. I mean, I think that phrase comes from when cows are in the pasture in the winter. I guess I should look it up sometime. I feel myself thinking about as slow as a cow in the winter. And she looks up at me and sees that I have my gun out. And I don't know when I did it. Automatic reaction, I guess. But I don't say anything I'm trained to say. Police, hold it right there. Felt cop show all of a sudden. I mean, it was strange to me seeing a woman beating the crap out of a guy that way, her dress all bloody and not making a single sound. I was sort of on her side until she threw the glass at me. And then she turns back and runs around the corner in the direction that she came. I'd hoped he'd get up, but he didn't. He was bleeding pretty badly, so I made a bandage out of my pants and tied it around his arm, which was gushing. And then I put the leg up against his face. I'd left my phone in my uniform in the locker downtown. And he said, "Don't leave me." The backs of the houses on either side of the alley were dark. But I saw the glow of his iPhone in the bush by the gravel and made my way to it, holding on to him, dragging him by the tourniquet I'd made out of my pants. He must have weighed 195, but I was on adrenaline now, and I called 911. And I left him there, and I headed around the corner of the alley to follow her. And nothing. I saw your lights and waved to you to the alley where you picked us up. And I rode along to the hospital, hoping the guy would make it. But he'd lost so much blood. Have you heard? Well, I don't know. Look for someone who has a bloody skirt and a bruised breast, I guess. Am I trying to be funny? No. Can I identify her? No. No, it was too dark. Thank you.
Good evening, I am David Millslow, and I'm going to be doing, I have to look at my notes, Point of View by Daphne Matiodaki, which is a journal entry with talking. My hotel window looks out on the Bestreed Park, and I compare that to the view from my London office, which is in Brewer Street. I'd give anything in the world to cover up that British red brick with cascading autumn leaves. I mean, yes, fine. I do realize that everyone's taste is different, and that's always the problem. It's raining. Rain is one thing I can never be objective about. I've always had an affection for it. I contemplate a walk, but I hardly know the city. I mean, I could easily get lost, and certainly if I stay in, I will never know it, and that's the whole point of this trip. I mean, yes, I do need to go out to remind myself that I'm on vacation, but I mean, why should I go out and add extra pressure onto myself? It's the conundrum I live with. Maybe wait for a while and make a cup of tea. Ever since I was a kid, I've dreamt of a house of my own in the mountains, ideally close to a river, waking up in the morning and drawing back checkered curtains and throwing open wooden shutters and leaving little treats out on the windowsill of the kitchen for the squirrels to get, hoping that they get to it before the bears do or before the bears get to them. There would be a loft. That would be my writing space. There would be an old antique desk and a carved lamp. You know, the kind that you turn on and off by pulling a string. Now, ideally, there would be a typewriter, but knowing myself, frankly, if I did decide to make the change, it would probably be a laptop. What's actually stopping me? Nothing I can name. I'll throw on a cardigan and go out. I need to take that first big step, or small one. I need to step out in any case. I'm back. The walk around town was splendid. I went down to the reception and I asked that sweet girl, Kara, I think, where is there that's nice for a walk? She gave me a map of the city and told me to decide on my own because it wouldn't be fair to miss out on something just because I was following directions. I traced with a pen the route that seemed most scenic, and I started out. I went past Higgins Bridge and made a short stop, just at its end to digest the feeling of endless boundlessness that this city gives me. I then went on down the steps that took me down to the road next to the park, next to the river. It was getting dark, and the more I walked, I started to feel that maybe the route I had chosen was perhaps a little bit too long, and by the time I got back to the hotel, well, I wouldn't be able to see my nose in front of my nose, nor would there be anyone out and about to help me. In my mind, it would be the easiest thing in the world to be gobbled up by a bear at this point. And the longer I continued along the path, the more convinced I became that the authorities would have a hard time identifying my remains. Oh my God, what am I doing here in a strange country on a strange continent, so far away from my tiny London apartment, so far away from my job as a copywriter, which I'm not that fond of, but I know that I'm good at, and so far away from my friends who are by this time all married, and I hardly see them anymore anyway, and so far from beautiful London, which bores me to tears. I hadn't noticed how fast I'd been walking until I felt myself growing short of breath and my knees getting weak. As in my mind I was doomed anyway, I decided to walk off the path and sit down by the river. And then I started crying. I mean, why does everything that happens feel like second best? Why do things so rarely live up to their promise? Why do I feel so let down and lonely? And why is this grass so damned wet? I don't know how long it took or how long I sat there or why, but when my eyes were dry again and I looked up ahead, it was pitch black, and the only thing that I could see was the lights of the city across the way. The smell of damp earth combined with the sounds of the city and the river and the salt of my tears in my mouth and it worked together to jolt me into a new awareness, and for the second time that night I was made breathless. This time for a completely different reason. I mean, the sight the sight that I was looking on was the most beautiful that I'd ever seen in my life. The moment when I felt more lost than ever was also the one in which I realized who and what I am. What I must do with my life. The moment I was no longer able to deny that a writer is what I am, even if a failed one. Armed with that new courage and a rock, which I picked up off the ground, I resumed my walk and a short moment later took a stop under the Orange Street Bridge, which I photographed with my cell phone just to remind myself that this evening did indeed happen. I crossed the street and started on my way back along the first thoroughfare I came to, which, if you'll believe this, was called Carousel Street. I mean, how much in love with this city can I be? It's now 3:47 a.m., and I am sitting by the window writing and listening to the sounds of the city. It may seem that taking the decision to change my life around came easily, but when you know what it is that you want, even if you don't know it outright, you spend a long time, maybe even years, preparing for the right moment. And mine was tonight. This is going to be my view from now on. Or near enough. I mean, spending the rest of my life in a hotel is not really part of the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, actors, thank you, writers. That's the end of this one. Then now it's 7 o'clock over in this gallery that away. There's going to be a talk by the artist M. Scott Miller's Missoula by Night, which is gorgeous. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's really good. And at 7 o'clock, he's going to talk about his work. So that's fabulous.
Tonight, we're celebrating this work that you see in the room. And the museum has just been thrilled to have Scott, feature Scott's work here this evening. And about a year and a half ago, Scott invited us over to his studio to look at this work. And we just requested that, gee, can you set this aside and we can premiere this work all at one time. Have you guys ever seen any work like this about Missoula? It's just a complete, unique vision about a place. It's a very special vision about a place. And so the museum was really thrilled to host this work, and so well done, and we were just so excited. And Scott agreed to set this aside for about 14 months and premiere this. So we're excited to have Scott talk tonight. He's going to talk for about 25 or 30 minutes, and he's going to take some questions. And if you guys haven't, part of this event tonight is the Montana Rep has invited stories about Missoula, and they've been going on all night. And they're going to switch gallery spaces, but it was inspired by these paintings. And so a lot of the readings that are going on, and they'll start again at 8 p.m., and they'll switch galleries.
Oh, cool.
So, thank you,
Awesome.
Scott, for
Thank you.
inspiring so much creativity, but also, it just draws attention to how creative Missoula is and how lucky we are to have so many great artists like you. And I'm going to pick you up.
Okay. All right. Put this here, and then we can just put that. Got that.
Can everybody hear me? Oh, great. My name is Scott Miller. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I really appreciate this. And I am a Missoula native. Actually, I moved here when I was 2. I lie to people and tell them that I was native, but I'm not really. But I've been here for a long time. And Missoula to me is a very special town and walks around town up to the M. It's such a lovely view down onto the city. It really did help inspire a lot of these views for me. So a little bit about myself. I grew up here in Missoula and I graduated from Sentinel, and I won a National Talent Search scholarship to Pratt Institute, which is a design school in Brooklyn, New York, and I was off to New York. I majored in illustration, mostly because I think my professors saw a drawing, that my drawing was maybe better than some people, and so they tried to push you off in that direction a little bit. I did illustration for a long time, mostly magazines, newspapers, periodicals. It was an exciting lifestyle. You also got to see your pieces in print, which was an exciting part of being an artist and seeing your art out there, whether it was for a big magazine, a cover of a magazine, or whether it was a little spot illustration in some newspaper. It was exciting to see that your work was out there and being seen. Illustration sort of died as an art form, in my opinion, and I don't know if I ever really went to school for that, but was more forced into, not forced, but pointed in that direction. And so upon moving back to Missoula, which I did about 5 years ago, I wanted to explore my more fine arts side. And that was a difficult transition for me. It's very easy to do art when somebody's telling you what to do. Illustration, they're telling you what to do. The story's already there. You just have to pick out an element. I found when it was up to me and what I wanted to paint, that was a big decision because you have to justify that somehow. I'm not really one for landscapes personally, but these are urban landscapes, and that excited me. Buildings have always excited me. Light has always excited me. Color has always been a big reason for me to paint. I loved working with those things. And so a couple years ago, I was commissioned by the Clark Fork Coalition to do this piece in the gold frame, which they turned into a poster for them. They're a non-for-profit here in town. And that sort of started the whole thing. That first night that I was out and about downtown, and it had just rained, and not only were you seeing the lights on the buildings, but you were seeing the lights in the streets and the reflection, and it was just brilliant to me. So after that, I started working on the show, which eventually got down to about 10 pieces here. I think I did like 17 or 18, and that was an interesting thing too, to whittle down to a show, and I think it turned out really nice. I'm very excited about the response that it's getting, and does anybody have any questions about this show, or all right, Anna, yeah?
Can you start with a photograph?
I do use reference, and my whole life as an illustrator, you use reference, and sometimes you use it a lot, and sometimes. Sorry, is that you? Am I okay now? Can you still hear me? I did use reference, but when you go out at nighttime and take film, all you could really see were the lights, and that's where the idea for the color kind of came through, because it was exaggerated a little bit. But just to get basically the buildings and where they went, I did have to use a little bit of reference, but it was obviously fun to step away from the reference, and I think that's when the magic of painting happens, and you get into these spidery kind of marks, or these halos, or 3 different colors to make one color, right? Or it was easy to step away from that, I think, because I chose a nighttime scene and concentrate on the lights. I'm so sorry.
And what were you smoking?
You're being recorded and you're projected.
All right. I don't know.
Just project the best that you can.
All right. I hope this is okay. So, yeah, do you have a question?
Did you always know that you wanted to be an artist?
I did. I can remember even from the first grade, art was my favorite part of the time. And I really have to say, growing up here in Missoula, I had excellent teachers, excellent art teachers that really were behind me. And without them, I would not have gone half as far as I did. And so I hope that that you have some good art teachers in your schools here. They really helped me a lot, and I always knew that I wanted to do something with that, but I just didn't really know what it was until I went and moved to a design school, and all those options started opening up about what types of artists are out there. There's lots of different types. So it's good to, now that I'm more doing fine arts and painting, it seems to be a great sort of step for me personally. I'm really enjoying the work, and I never really, doing illustration, you never really got to really enjoy it because there were art directors involved, and they are horrible people. They like to tell you what to do, and that's very hard. You feel like they've hired you for you, and that is partly true, but they, have their little 2 cents too. So that was always a hard part for me to do, and easy to walk away from eventually. What else? I opened up a studio downtown Missoula for the last three and a half years. I've been downtown, just kitty corner from here, and that's been really lovely being a part of the whole downtown. There's a whole rebirth downtown now, I feel, that's going on. Also another inspiration sort of for the show. I wanted to show Missoula as a whole, not really concentrate on any certain building so much, but all the buildings, except it's interesting, when I was doing this work, I felt like I always had to have the Wilma building in somewhere because it was a point of reference, right? It was just a point of reference. And so to abstract it somehow, I think this is probably the most abstract, but here it is here.
It was all of this airbrush.
Right. So this is a good question. These are all airbrushed with gouache. Gouache is a tempera paint, fancy tempera paint. So it's sort of water soluble, and it sits up on the paper a little bit more. That's why it has that matte kind of effect to it. When I think I got my first airbrush at the age of 12, thanks to my father, who really encouraged this from me, and I used it in my career a lot. And so it's a great tool. It's sort of like spray paint, a little bit more direct, and you can get a better line with it, but it's a really fun tool, and I think it gives a great glowy type of effect, and you work with masks a lot, and it's a very involved way of painting, and so yes, these are all sprayed, and the airbrush is kind of making a comeback, I feel, right now. It's been away for a little while. So yeah, Steve.
I just want to make a comment about the work. It's a very unified body work, and I think it reminds me a lot of the European Impressionists,
Right.
that they were trying to capture a particular moment,
Right.
or a particular kind of light. And were you looking at any of the Impressionists when you were imagining this? And also, how did you arrive at the scale of this?
Well, definitely the Impressionists. I got a lot of that. I don't know if I ever really thought about that, but it seems to be fitting, right? The Impressionist, that's what it was about, was capturing a moment, using the light. It was sort of the birth of photography, too. A lot of those people used photography to capture that moment. It was the birth of oil paint in tubes. Before that, you couldn't really travel, right? So it opened up a lot of the painting. And I do find that they're similar, only the difference is that it's at nighttime, and maybe they didn't have the capability to do that at nighttime, or maybe there weren't street lights the way there are today either. So in that sense, I do see a huge comparison, right? As far as like the scale, you mean like specifically like the buildings, or?
No, I'm talking about, many painters arrive at like much smaller works.
Right.
Capturing time, but you seem to have, I don't know whether these 32 by 40 something like that.
Right. Well, I think again, like with my illustration background, I was always, you're always confined to these 8.5 by 11 pieces, and that was a big thing for me upon moving back, was to be able to work larger. And 30 by 40 to me wasn't so big, to be honest with you. But I felt like they were such grand portraits that they needed that sort of size to really. Part of it is that you lose the image when you're upon it, right? I mean, you get pretty close to it and, you don't know what you're looking at, and it takes a sense of stepping back for everything to kind of come into focus on a few of these, which was deliberate, and playing around with scale was fun with that too. Sometimes I pulled really far away and sometimes I got really close. And so that was a really interesting part of the whole. I think I just went along and each one had a new special thing about it, or a new problem, or a new, a technique that I was trying to figure out. It seemed like each one had a separate thing in that sense. And then after about 20 of them, I was like, okay, I feel like I'm done now, The work that I'm working on now, which is funny enough, is now I'm starting to pull in onto some more local buildings and, maybe one or two buildings rather than a whole city. So it's interesting how it's still evolving, right? But I just find them so fascinating that they're fun to paint. Fun pieces to paint.
Was it hard or easy to find all these different styles of painting in the same city? And do you have a favorite way of painting?
I don't think it was hard. It was really nice to go on the walks at nighttime around Missoula and see Missoula, so that wasn't really hard. Do I have a favorite? I think I've fallen in love with each one of them at one point or another, but I think this one is a favorite of mine. It's something about the black and white, which is very lovely in the way that you don't have any problems with color questions, right? You're dealing with tone only, and so that's sort of a nice answer to the color problems when you're painting. Especially when you're using an airbrush, you're doing layering, so you use red and then you use orange and then you're using back to red and then, but with the black and white it was very easy just to go back from black to gray and not thinking about color too much. Any other? Yeah, hi Renee.
Do you take photos and then manipulate them in Photoshop? I mean, you have such interesting patterns and
Right, I didn't really have to manipulate them too much. The digital images, again, that was sort of part of it, like the digital light jags. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to take photographs at nighttime, and sometimes it's really hard, and you get these little jags, but those were really interesting to me, and the shapes that they would have. Sometimes I thought they looked like ducks or swans, or this one looked like Saturn to me. And the repetition, I think, is something that's very exciting too. And that became another thing, like each one had to have a sort of a different one, whether they were halos or whether they look like music notes or more horizontal jags. I tried not to use the reference too much. There was a point where you had to put it away. But yeah, it was a part of the process, Any other questions?
I don't know if everyone is aware here that you had gone through the 5th grade program here in Missoula and visited the museum.
So
you're the second artist
right.
to come back and
That's great.
We're going through the 5th grade.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's awesome.
Wonderful it has been for you to come in and work with high school students
Right.
and with the 5th graders.
Well, thank you, and you're welcome.
And I think that's what makes the community such a special place. And welcome home.
Oh, thank you.
And I just had one other question. And, these feel so urban, yet we're so rural.
Right.
Isn't that, what are your thoughts about that whole?
I really was amazed upon going, just really concentrating on, especially Missoula is really well lit up at nighttime. I mean, it really is. It looks like a jewel, especially if the skies are clear and it's really dark out and you can get away from the city lights, right, from being underneath them and see them from afar. It just looked like a jewel town to me. And so really, that was a lot, the inspiration was just the color, which I love so much. Speaking of that, the 5th grade art experience, I have nephews, twins, that are in the 5th grade, and they both just went through that, and I went to each one of their classes, and the whole experience is to emulate one of these pieces, right? We don't do it in the same way, but we kind of manipulate, and it was just been a lot of fun, and I really do remember my 5th grade experience here, even though the museum looked a lot different then, and it's a few years ago, but it's wonderful to be involved again, which I never thought maybe that would happen for me. So now that that's a reality, that's wonderful, wonderful, and thank you so much for having me down here, and the response has been really great, and I'm really thankful that you guys came and to hear me talk. Any other questions? That's it? Well, I think that's it then. Thank you so much for coming down.
Hello, everybody. I'm Greg Johnson. I'm the Artistic Director of the Montana Repertory Theater, and welcome to this collaboration. This is absolutely wonderful. I was just talking to everybody between sessions, is that it's so interesting that there are actors who hang out with actors, and then there's writers who hang out with writers, and artists who hang out with art, and then here we all are together in the same room. It's a lovely, for that reason only, it's quite a remarkable evening, and so I'm thrilled to be invited by Laura Millen and the great people, Annie, and the great people here at the museum to take part in this collaboration between the Montana Repertory Theater and Missoula Art Museum. And I hope we can devise ways of continuing this kind of collaboration, because A, it's, as I just described, and B, it's so much fun, and to have this kind of out-of-theater experience for actors and writers and directors, and to be hearing 14 brand new, fresh off the pages works from Missoula artists, which is a very big part of the mission of the Montana Repertory Theater and the colony, and to create a colony of writers in this town, which willy-nilly, by God, is actually happening. It's actually happening. We are creating writers in this town who are quite extraordinary, and you'll see that tonight. I want to thank the writers, I want to thank the actors, I want to thank the staff of the Montana Repertory Theater and the staff of the Art Museum. This has been just a joy all the way down the line, so I hope you enjoy our writers tonight. And you have something to say?
Yes. Yeah.
This is fun.
Oh, okay. Hi. My name's Anna. I'm the thanks. The membership volunteer and events manager here at the Art Museum, and I help coordinate the Artini Redux events. So it's really exciting to kind of see this different type of art here at the Art Museum. So we're really, really pleased that the Montana Repertory Theater agreed to work with us on this project. And I really wanted to thank everyone else to coming out to see M. Scott Miller's exhibition too, which is really exciting, great piece of pieces of work that I think work really well within this theme that we're working on tonight, Missoula at Night. So again, thanks to everyone for coming, and enjoy the second half.
Yeah. Okay. First piece is Jeff Medley. Here he comes.
Here I come. Thank you, Greg. My name is Jeff Medley, and I am reading Bastet Bound by Shannon Severtson. Narrator. Day's final slivers of pale, frail light pierce the patchwork-dense gray flannel sky. Evening's facade covers the brilliant autumn-burnt trees with dark navy shadows. Downtown on Main Street, amidst the active shops of Missoulians, slumbers a creature in concrete. He crouches in wait for the black moon's rise. The bug-eyed beast watches life move about with measured, minuscule inhalations of stale, beer-stained cement and incensed air. They walk in day and never know. I breathe them in as they go. Scents of men who have lost their way, women wishing they could stray. But it is the small and sticky ones who often stop and play. The children I would lick like a peppermint stick while waiting for crow! Disturbed gluttonous fowls! You find it oh so amusing to use me as your fluid crap disposal site. Stick around a few hours. Midnight. I'll give you a reason to chuckle, or rather, choke. Then you'll croak, but I won't mope. Yoga doers and tavern boozers hike identical sidewalk trails. Are these humans so different from one another? They think so. Some would even know so. But what so is it that they think they know? A person's so can often only be half known. And yet, if they be wise and let down disguise, I would dare say the so could be owned and even create various ties. Subaru, Subaru, Honda, Ford, Subaru, Subaru. Then no more. Subaru. Oh, you doers and boozers, isn't your end goal alike? To make the body feel good while emptying a mind occupied by scales, whales, nails? Or is it far too many fails? A tiny spider crawls across Bastet's nose. You are indeed itsy, and very bitsy, my rusty red spider. Bored! I am so bored. Why is it only one? Seeing and sleeping while knowing and hoping I wait for the one night in 30. Her ceaseless, cankerous light grinds me to my honeycomb wire foundation. No, you would say, the moon is often dark for days. Unperceptive and insipid like fish. What would your day hiker eyes know? They see only what they presume should be seen. Revolting moon's light is always here and there. She is everywhere. I feel her incessant force pressing down on me. Save for a single blessed evening each month when moon is completely blind and I am released. Darkness swallows the mountain-lined horizons, transforming the valley to indigo-hued prairies. Bastet's paws flex slowly, breaking off from the concrete bindings and gently replant with a sinuous stretch of the limbs. Lethargically, a deep inhalation of breath is taken, as one by one the vertebrae crack into recognition. Feather wisps of dust, dirt, deluge burst from a life-infused body into the buttery glow of the street lamps. Alley cats and stray dogs may own the streets by night, but magnitude makes me law. Snap! One swift movement uncurls the tail, arrow straight, shooting brittle leaf projectiles aimlessly at the fluffy cloud-covered sky. Rigid muscle spasms relax into surprisingly graceful and buoyant swishes of a club-like tail. Off to find the black canine that pissed all over my hind quarter last week? It could take a while to find that particular biatch. These people are strangely enamored with Labradors. Perhaps they're given out with each purchase of a Subaru. He springs lightly to a trot down Higgins Avenue towards the Wilma Theater's dynamic sparkle. Not a single reveler outside the box office takes notice of the concrete Bastet jumping from the bridge down into Caras Park and then swiftly upriver. Again, only ever perceiving what they expect to perceive. Who in their right mind would ever expect to see a once fettered stone feline ambling along the river? Pitiful people so concerned with right-mindedness. Slanted thoughts are considerably more enticing. Bastet gently picks up a pumpkin from a storefront in his mouth and with purposeful strides approaches main hall on campus. A bounding leap and he is on the rooftop, placing the pumpkin through the tallest spire. Bastet then begins to rub back and forth along the edges of the clock tower. Deep-throated purrs vibrate the whole building while causing chimes to ding off hours that have yet to live. Best scratching post in all of Missoula. He jumps to the oval and circles a few times before heading to Mount Sentinel. With little effort and no discernible impact, Bastet whisks past the M to the mountainous peak. He stands a whisper of shadow outlined against the black new moon sky, surveying his luminous valley. I suppose for some the wretched moon's light may hold meaning. My haven and home shimmers all on her own, and that is all I require. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Callie Shine, and this is That Time on the Roof After the Wedding by Kate Morris. Stephanie and Eric, both 22, are on the rooftop of the Wilma Theater in downtown Missoula, suit and dress. A question hangs in the air. No, God, no, that would not be a good idea. Because you don't know me, Eric. And I think if you were less drunk, then it would be easier for you to see my point. Not saying that you get stupid when you're drunk, and well, you do, but that's not the point. I'm just saying that do you know yourself? I mean, really know yourself, because I do. And you don't want to do that. Not really. What it all comes down to is happiness, right? And I'm not happy, right? I mean, if you really knew me enough to marry me, then you would know that. I mean, look at all the pills that I have to take. Oh, shit. Well, fuck you then. Goddamn pills run my life. See, I just threw my life over the edge of the Wilma. Classic, because, those little white pills are all I can manage. Yeah, it sucks to think about, but there it is. Eric, you have a lot going for you once you grow up. And I just can't be a part of that because it's not interesting enough for marriage. I need to be more interesting. I hate myself when I'm not. I hate myself so much that I hate you and I hate these shoes. So that's it. You get it? Piece by piece, I'm going over that ledge down 10 floors to the park below, and I can't stop myself. You don't want to go over with me, do you? No, you're a smart guy. Don't do it, but that's where I'm going. Let's have sex. Please? Fine, that's cool. Then I think I'm going to jump then. It's for the best. People don't jump off enough buildings in this damn town. We're all too nice. So, you can stop me, but know that if you do, we still won't get back together, Ricky. Sorry. So, are you going to save me? Thank you.
Hello. My name is Angela Billadew. Hi. There's somebody I know, sorry. Okay. Sorry. My name is Angela Billadew, and I'm reading a piece by Alan Goddard called Edna Wilma Simons Sharp, R.I.P. And because it's a historical piece, I wrote a little backstory to put it in some context for you, and I hope it's interesting, I thought, and I hope you agree. So, Edna Wilma Simons Sharp is the woman after whom the Wilma of Missoula was named. Interesting, right? She's born in 1895 in Kentucky, and she was a well-known vaudeville and light opera star in Kentucky and throughout the Northwest, especially in the 20s. And then she married her first husband, Billy Simons, in 1921, who ran a chain of 31 theaters in Montana, Idaho, and even Alaska. Go figure. And the one in Montana, well, one of the ones in Montana, he named the Wilma after his wife. And then after Billy passed on in 1937, she inherited his amusement company and went on to build an additional 9 theaters, despite the hard economic times, which is pretty impressive. She was a very shrewd businesswoman. And then in 1950, Edna married her second husband, Eddie Sharp, who was 21 years her junior. Anyway, so she was 55, he was 34, no big deal. He was a renowned piano player and singer. And because of his actual sexual preference, they were more close and loving friends who had a great time together as a married couple. Then 4 years after their marriage, so in 1954, she passed away at the age of 59. And she left the theater business to Eddie, and she also left many contributions to a lot of charitable organizations, in particular the Shodare Hospital in Helena. So, in this monologue, Edna is in her mid to late 50s because she is still married to Eddie at that time. And she's about to throw a big party. And you're about to learn the real reason behind her very celebratory spirit. It's gonna be a hell of a night here in Missoula. And nobody will know what my big accomplishment is this evening. Oh, you look surprised. No, not the sold-out concerts, nor the fabulous parties, a sit-down 7-course dinner for the local elite, which will make Eddie and Bob notable hosts if they cut their swishiness by half. Not even this dress, which is a Valentina. She dresses Garbo, you know. Nor my suddenly brick red hair, which took all morning. Do you like it? I got a total body job. Rug has to match the drapes. Now, not that, nor the florist telling the whole town that I ordered 50 dozen roses for this party. Every drunk in town is excited about the no cash bar. Oh, stop smiling, you know I'm having fun. You recall how forlorn I was? Every clock in my house had run down. Now, I was as useless as an old limp corset. Honey, I'm no fool. I know Eddie runs with a different kick to his gait. I married him because of his love for music, and he makes me laugh. And, well, he cares enough to hold me and cuddle me until I fall asleep. Now, after that, he's a gift to all mankind, you know. Then, I heard how upset folks were at the Elks Club after I'd left, and Bob and Eddie performed Yank My Doodle, It's a Dandy. So I told the boys that we were going to shut them up by presenting a greater artist series at the Wilma. Isaac Stern and Arthur Rubinstein, the Vienna Choir boys, and the frosting on the cake for me. The glorious Marian Anderson. She's singing my favorite, My Heart at Thy Sweet Voice. Honey, I built a career out of that number. Oh, hell, I had a rough time leaving Louisville, singing for throw money and ending up a Pantages star in vaudeville. But it had to be a damn sight harder to be a little Negro kid with big eyes and a bigger voice like Anderson. So when that son of a bitch at the Florence Hotel told me that Jim Crow ruled and Miss Anderson had to enter the hotel through the garage and not the front door, I lost my temper. I got crazy mad. So I told him that Miss Anderson would walk alongside me up to the reception, or that the hotel would lose all 7 concert receptions, all 7 pre-concert dinners, all 7 artist suites. If they couldn't forget their no-colored policy. And further, that no business that I'm involved with, and there are more than most people know, from Daly's Meets to the First National, not a one of them would schedule an event or a reservation at their damn hotel. His watery blue eyes went dead. Well, he said, of course, Mrs. Sharp, Miss Anderson will use the front door. It's my proudest moment. And probably no one will ever know that I, Edna Wilma Simon Sharp, broke the color line here in Missoula. So come on, kid, drink up. I deserve a hell of a night. Maybe even a toast. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cole Hochhalter. Today I'm going to be performing Wine Lover by Trisha Obstad. Donald is in his 30s with expensive taste, a food snob, obsessed about wines and gourmet food. He reads, memorizes, writes poetry, and likes to gossip occasionally, but is trying to quit. He's a picky eater, mildly arrogant, a perfectionist, critical, slightly sensitive, and troubled with love. Hi, my name is Donald. I'll be your server this evening. Let me tell you about some of our local wine. Now, wine is a really broad subject, and it's not just about what's in the bottle. There's so much more than that. Now, my featured red wine is a cab from the Missoula winery. It is quite aggressive in nature, slightly fat, but mature, and I must say, a real blockbuster. Now, I don't have to tell you how truly exhilarating a racy wine like this one can be. This wine sparks long, romantic walks, hand-holding, kissing, and a strong likelihood of falling in love. I can't really elaborate too much on such things. I'm not currently involved with anyone, and I don't exactly have the inclination to either. Anyway, if you're planning to order this one, you should also be warned of its underhanded power. It is deep and complex, and at times can become quite heavy. You could get stuck under Higgins Street Bridge for hours discussing life's purpose and questioning all the choices you've ever made in your life, trying to determine what was your choice, what was the choice of others, and who was making choices for you. But again, I can't speak from my own experience. It's just what I've heard about this wine. Perhaps you'd be interested in something less complicated. I know a red blend from Lolo Peak Winery I really like that doesn't get too much attention. It's a bit lean, stringy, or should we say, tenuous? This one has been known to occasionally be flaccid and at times quite flabby, but on good nights, it is noble and nutty, not to mention it is quite popular and has even won some awards. It leaves an impact with you, like the Missoula Symphony, which, by the way, is a perfect first date. If that is, you are a person who wants to go on a date. I mean, there's no way I can take that kind of time. It's hard for me to be involved right now. It's too complex. Getting wrapped up in someone, the danger of becoming codependent, and the necessity to examine myself in ways that aren't exactly comfortable. I honestly don't think I should get to know myself that well. It's really better if I stay a stranger to myself, really. Forgive me. This one can make you lose your stomach due to the unexpected flavors that pop out at rare moments, like when you're at the county fair on the roller coaster, screaming for dear life, or hanging upside down for what seems like hours and spinning endlessly in circles at horrible speeds on some death grip ride. I tell you, it made me sick for days after our evening together. Well, that brings me to our last wine featured tonight. This could quite possibly become a regular companion at dinner time for me. It's a Pinot Grigio from 10 Spoons. Many of the less expensive, or should I say, low-maintenance Pinot Grigios I've had tend to be very tart and heavy, which always leaves me feeling guilty. However, this one is clean and elegant with a finesse and a full body. This one has a taste that doesn't overwhelm because it is bright, aromatic, and never dull. Sitting with you at the table, providing the most interesting conversation. I would go so far as to compare this one to Richard Hugo's poetry. You might come here Sunday on a whim. Say your life broke down. The last good kiss you had was years ago. This one is long-lasting. I think about it for hours after our evening together, sip after sip, with a slow, gradual incline in the beginning and a fruity finish at the back of the tongue. I can't be sure where this one will take you. It's really all in how you pair it. Now, what will you have? Thank you.
You guys hanging in there okay? Good. My name is Jeremy Scher. I'm going to be reading a piece called Revelation by Peter Phillips. Dr. Pete, people know him as. It hadn't rained in 2 months. Now unseasonably warm, a persistent heat with unseasonable temps in the high 70s, mid 80s, smoky. Fires all over the compass. Air stagnant, heavy. The tanks all dry. The grinding noise coming from the bottom of the well as the windmill gyrated in the stagnant breeze confirmed the empty pan at the base of the cistern. He turned the wire cutter, a last revolution, connecting the torn ends of the barbed links where the thirst-crazed Hereford bull had broken through, trying to reach the well tank in the front of the house. He was exhausted, just worn out at a point of not giving a damn. Just a few years ago, the thought of building his own herd, making a down payment toward his own place, then land values, even the driest flat acreage, had just escalated beyond anything he could ever afford. Now, this was no life, no country to live in, to work in, to stay in. She had grown cold, hostile, distant. Just driven off in his pickup, wanting to be by herself. Cabin had gotten her a bit stir-crazy, she said. Needed a few days alone. He felt dead inside, as lifeless as the ground he stood on. He stood and looked up at the dulled blue above the hills, the hazy yellow of the smoked sunlight turning the peaks of the missions a miasma of foreboding. She was gone. Her clothes, small black and white TV, her books, CDs. Oh, the picture of them taken at the rodeo picnic shortly before they had met. Now, she hadn't looked like she belonged. Jeans, tight sweater, long blonde hair, perfect white teeth. But, she had ridden that barrel horse like she was born in the saddle. And for a time, his world took on a whole new glow, a promise. So he worked harder, he drank less, felt more alive, more anxious to make his life meaningful. Now, he thought she might go to Missoula, to the university. Now, she had talked of a year spent in the theater department, disappointed at not making the BFA curriculum, wanting to try again, becoming resentful toward him, as if denying her the opportunity. 3 days later, he came out of the foothills along Post Creek and onto 93, walking south toward St. Ignatius, small backpack over his shoulder. A vintage Dodge sidestep pickup. Engine running, sat under the lights at the Indian Museum gas station. The cab was empty, the driver likely inside paying. An easy take. No other cars, no other people. Within moments, he was heading south, taking deep swallows from an open Jack bottle. He drove, imagining her on campus, milling through the crowd in the theater lobby, waiting for the show to start. He felt excitement, okay? Why was he doing this? What was it he felt he lost? What did he want back? Was this love? Okay, maybe a bar first. Yeah, with a pool table. She was good at pool, okay? She had won them drinks in local bars. Did the Badlander have a pool table? If he could just find that place somewhere downtown. The inversion held the heavy smoke down hard against the world below Evero, his eyes and nose reacting from the irritation. Orange Street appeared in the gloom, his turn as from habit, instinctive. Off Broadway. On to Ryman, memory served. A police vehicle, 2 cops. Were they already looking for the truck? Man at the bar, 2 ladies. Another few in the back looked him over as he stood in the door while they were looking one to another. Help you, buddy? Bartender. He drove through downtown, found Madison. Yes. Crossed the bridge onto Arthur, okay, and took a turn about campus, looking. Heard laughter. Wait a minute. No, a dead end. And the theater building. Okay. A campus security van. Still dark. Yes, she would be there, watching a show. A loading ramp, empty, and a back door into the building. He felt triumphant as he rammed the truck into the wall below the door. He climbed over the rail. Okay. He heard laughter, then applause. He stumbled through large open doors, through curtains and scattered materials, and out onto a theater platform. Okay. Hey, fella from behind him. Where the hell are you going? Before him, figures staring. Along walls on 3 sides. A large crowd on their feet. Startled. Watching. Some backing up. Away from him. Moving toward exit doors. He stood lost. Bewildered. Then, in a bright white light before him, he saw her. Long hair, blonde, blue jeans, the sweater, it was her. Unmistakable. He reached out toward her, grabbed her arm, pulling her back in towards him. She... screaming? Hey, you, let her go! Hands in the air! He whirled around, raised an arm, a flash! A heavy weight slammed into his chest. Whoa! Knocking him back a few steps. Back onto the loading ramp. People were screaming, rushing past him. He struggled a few steps, one leg collapsing under him, unable to breathe. A metallic, wet taste in his mouth. He lay on the concrete, growing cold, red, warm, spreading across his chest. He lay his cheek on his arm, dying. He had found her. He had found her. Warm. Happy, right? A bright light illuminating her now. Now serenity at long last, and so weary. Finally, a chance to rest. Thank you.
I'm Selena Chatlin. This piece was written by Kathy Capps. A woman sits in an interview room in the Missoula Police Department. Call me Charlotte. All that Miss stuff is a bunch of crap. So am I under arrest? Maybe I should call an attorney? Ah, fuck it, they're all a bunch of weasels. This place is a shithole. Fucking depressing. Looked like hell in that damn mirror. Fluorescence, it's enough to make any woman confess. Not that I've done anything wrong. Hasn't anyone heard of feng shui around here? I can't sit like this with my back to the door, drive me nuts. Sure, coffee would be nice, but some scotch would be better. You'd like me on scotch. It puts me at ease, but with the clarity. Scotch is the most serious booze. It's what people drink before they blow their brains out. Not me. I'd never shoot myself. Not after shooting that guy tonight. What a mess. If I shot myself, I'd do it like in the woods or, in a field where nobody would have to clean it up. Except the animals, and they'd like that. You're a pretty nice guy for a police detective. Is it because I did you all a giant favor? Or because you get to be good cop today? So I guess you want to know all about me, why I did it, how it all came down. Just the right person in the right place at the right time, I guess. Maybe it was fate. I know what to do when there's trouble. I was born and raised on the family ranch, sheep mostly, second-generation Basque. Went to college at MSU, animal husbandry. Married a guy, but he left. Too much work. Men leave. Happens all the time. Like I said, I was raised a rancher. I know how to protect the herd. So tonight I killed a wolf, dispatched a predator. That's all. I don't like how everyone overuses that word suspect. Like, we don't know who really did it. That guy was guilty as sin. I caught him red-handed raping that poor girl. So what if he didn't have a gun? He had his dick in his hand. That's weapon enough for me. What was I supposed to do? Wait inside the house for the cops like a timid mouse while he finished what he started? I called 911 like a good citizen, but there wasn't time to wait for help. Not for her. There wasn't. I told that piece of shit to stop or I would kill him dead as dirt. He came at me with his dick leading the way, probably thought I wouldn't do it. Watched too many stupid movies where the little woman can't pull the trigger. Well, fuck that! This is Montana. I stopped that bastard in his tracks. Maybe if you guys had done your job, I wouldn't have had to shoot him. I knew instantly it was him. He came back to do it again. Wolves always come back to the place of a kill. I'm not a vigilante. He came to me, to my yard. I saved that girl. You guys are trying to distort the story, twisting it all around. You're making the hunter in Little Red Riding Hood into the bad guy when he's the hero. If it was your daughter, wouldn't you be at least a tiny bit glad that I gave that bastard exactly what he deserved? Keep lying to yourself. You can think what you like. We're all glad he's gone. There's only 13 of them left in the neighborhood, the registered offenders. This guy was not one of them. Previously unknown. Kind of makes you wonder how many there really are out there. The government folks like to underestimate the number of wolves. They don't want to alarm you, don't want you to be too concerned, to sense the danger, to know just how fragile life is under that thin veil of civility. Keep sticking your head in the sand. Fucking ostriches. I don't know why they're so enamored with them. Not so much us unsophisticated country rubes. We see the wolves for what they are. Predators.
We know they will keep killing until they are stopped, and the only way to stop them is to kill them. You can cage them for a while, but they'll just kill again when you let them go. If you move them to a new area, they'll just start killing there. It's their nature. You can't change an animal's nature. All you PC people see a wolf, but convince yourselves, since it looks like a German Shepherd, it can be trained to be a good doggy. It's not a good doggy, it's a wolf. It will always be a wolf. There is no changing that. Someone has to help control the predators. That's all I did. I killed a wolf. So, are we finished here, or do I need to call a weasel? Thank you.
Hello? Hello. My name is Nick Pavlich. I'm going to be reading a monologue by Josh Wagner. I am playing Adam, a disheveled young man in his 20s who tries to get his girl back. And if I could erase all the stupid things I've ever said to you, and we could start over and meet again for the first time. Sometimes I pretend it happens at a party like this. Classic Missoula rager. I come around the corner, and there you are. Our eyes lock long enough to get past whatever it is that keeps people from really connecting to each other. You know, that precise amount of time where the brain panics and people get nervous and look away. But we stare too long and too deep for strangers. Too long even for friends. Standing there, shaking hands and not letting go. And the whole time, our bodies count the seconds while we can't look away. I say, "Hi, I'm Adam." And you say, "I'm Kate." "Hi," I say. "Hi," you say. All the while, with our eyes reflecting back on each other like two mirrors, face to face, penetrating stupidly into the depths, thoughts bouncing back and forth between our eyes, fast. Even faster than pheromones. Oh, Katie. You're looking at me like that right now. And in my imagination, we both try to get back in, to regain eye contact, to see if we can beat the record. But here's the problem, see? You and I, we're in competition with something. We're a threat to all the failed love affairs in history, and they're conspiring to keep us apart. And almost against my will, for whatever reason, I suddenly have to leave the party. But you find a way to become my ride home. The universe fights back, but we beat the odds. We end up going back to my apartment. It doesn't matter that you don't have a car. It doesn't matter that I don't have an apartment. I've pre-imagined the apartment I would have, down to the last detail. I invite you in, and we talk, but not too much. You make your way from room to room, getting a drink, cleaning off the table. Then you come kneel beside me to show off your latest zine you made at Butterfly. Look, you say, I cut up this old shirt and made a dress out of it. That's something else you say. I keep trying to catch your eye, but neither of us push it. We sit on the floor beside the couch, and you tell me about your mother, about the first Madonna cassette tape you bought, a story about something that happened in high school. It's a good story, and I laugh. And then you ask me if I'd like to hold hands, maybe just for a minute, just to see how it feels. How does it feel? I imagine how it feels. I remember how it feels. Our fingers interlock and fit. All fingers interlock and fit, right? But that's just the universe trying to stop us. Look at these hands, Katie. Do you want to kiss me, you ask? And I say, can I? And you find my reply somewhat endearing, so you don't respond. But then I kiss you anyway, holding your face with one hand, and I am warm and thundering. We ride the moment out. We ride it out. It's like we're trying to find that exact amount of eye contact where there's no going back. We feel each other out. But you refuse to lose control. There are so many reasons not to lose control. Not for someone like me. Not for someone who doesn't have an apartment, or a job, or a future. Not for someone so strange, so reckless. You know that you need to be careful in choosing a mate. You can stop this, you think. But then you start to imagine me in tears. Heartbroken. You feel like all hearts are fated to break. And you're worried that you'll break mine. And then I'll feel it all the way down because I love you so much. And maybe, just maybe, I won't ever stop breaking. You worry that maybe I'll just keep trying to make it work, to get you back, to overtake you, but you won't submit. You can't submit. The universe has eyes everywhere. Now, I'm outside your window, and you can hear me saying, "Don't go! Don't go!" What else can I do? I mean, am I supposed to be aloof, or adoring, or what? I'm just who I am, Katie, and this is it. You are where I belong. However I try to imagine it, however the scenario goes down, I'm always back under your window, begging for you to take me back. You're more beautiful than all the first winter nights. You're like those little crystal snowlets when it hasn't even snowed yet. That just kind of hang in the air and dangle on spider webs. You're the kind of sunset that causes shipwrecks. You're a crystal ocean washing up to the shores of a red desert where the moon is bigger than the sun and lions stand on a mesa surrounded by gypsum. And Katie, when I'm old and in a rocking chair, and I look to my right, I know I will see your face, whether you're there with me or not. Thank you.
Thank you all. That's the end of the evening. Laura, thank you for inviting us to be here. It's a pleasure to be at the museum. Maybe we'll do something like this again. I think it's a great idea. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next time.